So welcome to our talk show to Mr. Randy Garcia, who is an entrepreneur with over 20 years of global experience. That's what they told about you. And you also are a professor here in Italy, something like 2 months a year. You teach in Pisa.
Yes, yeah.
Correct?
Well, I'm not part of the faculty. I do teach, lecture, instructor. So I know that professor is a very distinctive title, and many people refer to me that way, but I'm not. Not
okay, let's be correct.
I'm an entrepreneur. I prefer to.
Okay, and what you deal with is technology audit assessment. The first question I have for you is what has brought you here in Milan in GEC of this year?
Okay, so I actually was on my way back to New York City, where I live and work. I was just in Pisa, University of Pisa, working with the PhD Plus program, which is something that I started with a group there in 2001. And Daniel Pest from InnoVits contacted me. We have been in contact over many years through Skype and chat. And he said, hey, are you still here in Italy? I said, yes. He said, well, why don't you come to the Congress and visit us at the exhibit, because we have some interesting startups that we'd like for you to talk to. And I said, yeah, I mean, I immediately changed my schedule and said I'm going to stay another 2 weeks, because I want to support the startups here, and I wanted to meet with Daniele and see the wonderful things that are going here. And I actually am very optimistic about the prospects of Italy on the global stage for its startups. Mm-hmm. So I wanted, this being in Milan,
for startups in general, and also for this country,
specifically for, well, Italy in general. I'm optimistic about Italy's prospects in the future, and also specifically about SME internationalization. But then the next generation is the startups, right? So that's so I want to sort of support the entire possibility.
Okay, going back to to the reason why you are here, you are not here just to take a look and see how it works here, but you will be also a judge. You will have a role in call for ideas.
Yes. So InnoVits is an organization that's very good about soliciting ideas from the young talent and then putting them through a mentoring and coaching and training program. And then the end result is to put them through some kind of competition, which is a simulated event that would try to attract investment and support. And investment is more than just financing. It's investment also requires believing in them, giving them confidence, criticizing them constructively, giving them some alternative ways of accomplishing their goal. There's many forms of financing, many forms of support that they need in order to emerge as entrepreneurial talents. Whether or not their first startups are successful is not as important as them trying. So one of the things that I do in the program in Pisa with the doctoral candidates is we try to inspire the students to think of other possibilities, not to get so discouraged by the news in terms of what the conditions of the global economy, the state of affairs here in Italy with the slow to no growth.
Inspire is a very good thing, because what we need is a culture of entrepreneurship, which is not so.
Well, yeah, I have a slightly different view on this, and that is that Italians actually are very entrepreneurial. I mean, Italy's an export country. It's a G8 country. It exports. The estimate is 400 billion euro a year. To Germany, it's over 50 million euro of export just to Germany. To the US, it's somewhere between 30 or 40 billion euro of export per year. That happens through entrepreneurs. When you actually look at the proportion of big companies to SMEs, most of that export is actually from SMEs, not from the big companies. That's an entrepreneurial class, right? And that's existed in Italy for many years. The challenge has been is many of those SMEs are used to selling regionally and selling within Italy, and the world has changed. Now we have global competition that's very fierce. You have forms of competition that are very well financed, very well supported by their governments, and then you have other forms of multinational, transnational, global companies that are being very aggressive about how they compete.
Yes.
So I think the challenge for Italy is the SMEs have to start to think beyond the sort of regional opportunities and really look to other places that, for example, if I give you an example of a U.S. company, would be challenged to go do business in Tunisia, for example, or Libya, or Kenya, right? And I'm here in Italy, and I meet companies that are selling products in Kenya, and Tunisia, and Libya, right?
Libya is difficult now.
It's a challenge, but there are places that that have needs, and there hasn't been a place in the world that I've traveled, and I've traveled, extensively as a global entrepreneur, a global citizen, and as a tourist. There hasn't been a place that I've been to, even the most remote place, where I don't find Americans. I find Italians, I find Australians, I find Germans, Dutch, but very few. I mean, maybe of every once in a while I find somebody from France.
So look
certainly
far
from
away.
Spain, but from Italy, almost guaranteed. I mean, I've traveled in the middle of Mexico in a place called Coba, beautiful kind of place, very historic, very archaeological. Who's the entrepreneur in the town? It's an Italian, right? It's and they're making money, in all over the world. So Italians have entrepreneurship as kind of a base, even here. Just speaking to Daniela and the people at InnoVits, so far everyone that I've met, comes from a family business. They're running businesses. They've ran businesses. They failed. Now they're successful, and they're continuing to contribute.
Yeah.
It is very challenging to get the young people to understand that, Italy achieved in the 70s and 80s what humanity had never achieved. A quality of life that was unprecedented.
Yeah.
To live amongst beauty. I spend time in the Tuscany area. I was in Modena, spend a week in Milan. I come back now. I've been to Sicily,
so there are all
Catania.
The conditions
all these
here,
places are just fantastic.
Let's use it.
There's all these assets of just cultural assets, historic assets, and then just the energy and drive. It exists here in Italy. There's no reason why a young Italian person shouldn't look at their prospects outside of Italy, staying in Italy, but making use of making use of the world, because it's global competition.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Okay.
We will go on with our interviews.